The Sunday dinner started like all the others. My father praised my sister Sarah while I sat at the far end of the table, practically invisible. It was March 15th, 2024. I remember the exact time because I was checking my phone, hoping for an excuse to leave. I should have trusted that instinct. My entire extended family had gathered at my parents' house in Westchester. All 23 of them. The dining room was packed. The air was thick with the smell of pot roast and overlapping conversations. Sarah sat at my father's right hand, her engagement ring catching the light. A massive diamond her fiancé, Marcus Thornton, had given her. Marcus, whose father happened to be Senator Richard Thornton of New York. My father hadn't stopped talking about it since the engagement. Sarah's marrying into one of the most prominent families in the state, he announced for probably the 15th time. Senator Thornton himself will be at the wedding. My mother beamed. Sarah smiled graciously. I focused on my plate, cutting my pot roast into smaller pieces. This was my role. To be quiet, to be small. The wedding is going to be at the Thornton estate, my father continued. The governor might even attend. My cousin Jennifer leaned forward. That's incredible, Sarah. Sarah glanced at me for just a second. Something flickered in her eyes. It's going to be a very exclusive event. My father set down his fork. Actually, we need to discuss something. The room went quiet. He looked directly at me. Emily, this wedding is extremely important. The Thorntons are sophisticated, influential people. My stomach tightened. What your father is trying to say, my mother interjected, is that we need to make the right impression. And frankly, my father said, you would be out of place. The words hung in the air. I felt my face flush. You're still renting that tiny apartment in Queens, he continued. You drive an old car. You work at some hospital job. I'm a doctor, I said quietly. Right. But not a successful one. Not like Dr. Patterson's son. Emily, your sister is marrying into American royalty. These people will be evaluating everything. How we dress, how we speak. They'll be judging whether Sarah comes from the right kind of family. The implication was clear. I was none of those things. My Uncle Tom cleared his throat. Harold, that seems a bit harsh. It's reality, Tom. This is Sarah's one chance at a life of significance. I won't let anyone jeopardize that. He turned back to me. You understand, don't you, Emily? I looked around the table. My mother avoided my eyes. Sarah stared at her plate. No one defended me. So I'm not invited to my own sister's wedding, I said. It's better this way, my father said. You'd feel out of place. Sarah finally spoke up, her voice small. Marcus's family is very particular about the guest list. When they asked about you, I didn't really know what to say. Something inside me cracked. I'm a pediatric cardiac surgeon. My father frowned. What? I'm a pediatric cardiac surgeon at Mount Sinai. I operate on children's hearts. I save lives. Oh, don't exaggerate, my mother said nervously. You're a doctor, yes, but... I'm the chief of pediatric cardiac surgery, I said, my voice steady now. I've performed over 2,000 successful surgeries. I'm published in the New England Journal of Medicine. I make over $800,000 a year. The room went dead silent. My father stared at me. That's impossible. Why would I lie? Because you've never mentioned any of this, Sarah said, her voice rising. You never asked, I said simply. My father's face turned red. If you're so successful, why do you live in that tiny apartment? Because I don't care about impressing people. I donate to children's charities. I fund medical research. He didn't believe me. I reached for my phone, pulled up my hospital ID, and slid it across the table. Dr. Emily Chin, Chief of Pediatric Cardiac Surgery. My mother leaned over to look. Sarah grabbed it, her face going pale. This doesn't change anything, my father said. You've spent years making us think you were nobody. What kind of person does that? The kind who wanted to see if her family loved her for who she was, not what she accomplished. That's manipulative, Sarah hissed. No. What's manipulative is uninviting your sister from your wedding because she doesn't fit your image. I stood up. Enjoy the wedding. I walked out at 4:23 p.m. I got in my old car and drove back to Queens. I didn't cry. I just felt empty. My phone rang. Then my mother, then my father. I declined every call. Later, Sarah sent a text, "You're being dramatic." I blocked her number. The next morning, my mother showed up at my apartment. I didn't let her in. "Emily, please. Your father didn't mean it." "How did he mean it?" Silence. That's what I thought. She left. For the next 3 months, my family tried various approaches. My father sent an email explaining he was looking out for Sarah. My mother left voicemails saying I was breaking her heart. I deleted everything. At work, I threw myself into my cases. Operating on a 3-year-old's heart puts family drama into perspective. My mentor, Dr. Patricia Williams, cornered me one day. "You're working too much." "I'm fine. Emily. I've known you for 12 years. You're not fine." I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Your family doesn't deserve you. You've saved more children than most doctors will in their entire careers. They see what they want to see. Then let them see the truth." She paused. "Sarah's wedding is in 2 weeks, right?" "I'm not going. Word gets around in the medical community. If someone were to mention your work to the right people." "I'm not trying to embarrass them. I'm talking about truth. You've hidden your light for too long." The wedding was scheduled for June 8th at the Thornton estate. I worked a double shift that day. 2 complex surgeries. Both successful. I got home at 8:30 p.m. exhausted. My phone rang at 9:15. Unknown number. "Hello. Dr. Chin, this is Catherine Thornton, Senator Thornton's wife." I sat up straight. "Mrs. Thornton, I need your help. My grandson, Charlie. He's 3 years old. He collapsed this afternoon. The doctors here say he needs immediate surgery for a complex heart defect. They said you're the best." "Where is he now?" "Greenwich Hospital. We can have him transported within the hour. I'll meet you at Mount Sinai. Tell them to call ahead for my team." Charlie Thornton arrived at 10:38 p.m. I was already scrubbed. The coronary anatomy was complicated, but doable. Catherine Thornton met me outside the prep area. "Dr. Chin, thank you." She stopped, staring at me. "You look familiar." "I don't think so." She shook it off. "Please, tell me about my grandson." I explained the surgery. She listened intently. "How long will it take?" 4 to 6 hours. "But you can do it." I said, "I've done this operation over 100 times. I haven't lost a patient yet." She squeezed my hand. "Then I trust you completely." The surgery began at 11:42 p.m. At 4:17 a.m., I placed the final suture. Charlie was stable. I found Catherine in the waiting room with Senator Thornton and Charlie's father. "He's going to be fine." Catherine burst into tears. Senator Thornton looked like he might collapse from relief. "Dr. Chin, you saved my grandson's life." "It's my job." "No. You left whatever you were doing and spent 6 hours saving a child you'd never met. That's a calling." Catherine took my hands. "You must come to the wedding today. Please." "I insist." "I really don't think." "Please." "It would mean a great deal to us." I thought about saying no, but something in me, tired of being invisible, said yes. "What time?" "The ceremony is at 4. There's a rehearsal brunch at 10. You're welcome to both." I went home, showered, and changed into a simple navy dress. I drove to Greenwich. The Thornton estate was impressive. I arrived at the brunch at 10:47. And there, at a long table, was my entire family. My mother saw me first. Her mouth fell open. My father went still. Sarah looked like she'd seen a ghost. Before anyone could speak, Catherine swept over. "Everyone, I want to introduce someone very special. This is Dr. Emily Chin, the surgeon who saved our grandson Charlie's life last night." The entire terrace erupted in applause. Senator Thornton raised his glass. "To Dr. Chin." Everyone chorused, "To Dr. Chin." My father's face turned red. My mother looked like she might faint. Sarah gripped Marcus's arm. Catherine guided me to the head table, right next to my parents. My father finally managed, "Emily, what are you doing here?" "Mrs. Thornton invited me." "How do you know the Thorntons?" Catherine overheard. "She saved Charlie's life." Dr. Chin is the chief of pediatric cardiac surgery at Mount Sinai. Marcus turned to Sarah. Your sister is the Dr. Emily Chin? My father's been trying to meet with her for months. Sarah whispered, I didn't know. How could you not know your own sister's famous? Marcus asked. I'm not famous, I said quietly. I'm just good at my job. Senator Thornton laughed. Dr. Chin, you're being modest. I've read your papers. The medical community considers you one of the leading experts in the field. My father stared at me like he'd never seen me before. I tried to tell you, I said to him. You didn't believe me. Jonathan Thornton, Charlie's father, came over. Dr. Chin, my wife wants to thank you personally. Charlie's alive because of you. Our family owes you a debt we can never repay. He pulled me into a hug. Over his shoulder, I saw my family watching. My mother's eyes were filled with tears. Sarah whispered urgently to Marcus. The brunch continued. People kept coming up to thank me. Catherine introduced me to nearly every guest. My family sat in silence. At one point, my father tried to approach me. Emily, we need to talk. Not now, I said. He retreated. The wedding ceremony at 4 was beautiful. Sarah looked stunning. I sat in the 5th row, next to a state assemblyman. At the reception, Catherine insisted I sit at the family table. You saved Charlie's life. You're family now. So I sat at the head table while my parents sat at table 7. During dinner, the senator leaned over. I'm working on healthcare legislation. I'd love your input. I'd be happy to help. At 8:30 p.m., my mother cornered me near the dessert table. Emily, please. We need to talk. We made a terrible mistake. You didn't want to know. I told you I was a surgeon. Dad said I was exaggerating. You laughed. We're sorry. Are you sorry for what you did, or sorry that you were wrong? She didn't answer. My father appeared. Emily, we made a mistake. But you have to understand. I don't have to understand anything. You called me worthless. You uninvited me from the wedding because you were ashamed of me. We didn't know you were successful. Would it have mattered if I wasn't? If I was just a regular doctor, would that make me worthless? He opened his mouth, but no words came. You taught me that love is conditional. Congratulations. I learned the lesson. I walked away from them, through the reception, and drove back to the hospital. Over the next week, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Dozens of calls. I didn't answer. My grandmother's letter was heartfelt. But most were about what I could do for them now. They still didn't get it. 3 weeks later, Catherine invited me to lunch. I wanted to apologize for putting you in that position. I didn't know about your family. You have nothing to apologize for. They didn't know about your career? They knew I was a doctor. They assumed I wasn't successful. Why did you let them think that? Because I wanted to know if they'd love me anyway. Turns out they didn't. Catherine squeezed my hand. Their loss, Emily. We talked for 2 hours. By the time I left, I felt like I'd made a real friend. Charlie recovered beautifully. I saw him for follow-up appointments. His parents sent me photos of him running, playing, living the life he might not have had. 6 months later, my mother showed up at the hospital. I told security to say I was in surgery. At Christmas, they sent an enormous gift basket. I donated it to a shelter. On my birthday, my entire family showed up at a restaurant where I was with friends. Surprise, my mother shouted. I stood up, put money on the table, and said, We're leaving. We are your real family, Sarah protested. I looked at her. You people I'm related to by blood. But you're not my family. Family doesn't call each other worthless. Family doesn't exclude each other out of shame. We were wrong. You're sorry you were wrong. You're not sorry for how you treated me. If I had been just a regular doctor, you'd still think you were justified. I walked out. A year after the wedding, I received a letter from Sarah. Different from the others. No pleading. Just honesty. She wrote about building her life around our parents' approval. About seeing me at the wedding and realizing what real success looked like. She wrote that she was in therapy. That she was trying to change. I wrote back. Not forgiveness. But an opening. We started exchanging emails. Short at first. Then longer. It was slow. But it was something. My parents kept trying. Cards on holidays. showing up at conferences. I remained firm. 2 years after that Sunday dinner, I received a Lifetime Achievement Award. At 37, I was the youngest recipient ever. The ceremony was at the Waldorf Astoria. Over 800 attendees. Charlie, now 5 and thriving, presented me the award. My acceptance speech was short. I thanked my mentors, my team, my patients. I didn't mention my family, but they were there, in the back row. After the ceremony, my father approached. That was a beautiful speech. I'm proud of you. I looked at him. He'd aged. Are you proud of what I've accomplished? Or proud of who I am? He hesitated. That's what I thought. Emily, please. I'm trying. But trying isn't the same as understanding. You're proud of Dr. Emily Chin, the famous surgeon. You're not proud of your daughter, who was always worthy of love. He said nothing. I walked away. Sarah caught me at the elevator. She'd quit her marketing job and started working for a nonprofit. She seemed happier. Congratulations, she said, hugging me. Thank you for coming. We rode down together. Outside, Catherine and Richard were waiting with Charlie. He ran over, healthy and full of energy. Everyone laughed. That night, I went home to my apartment in Queens. I'd thought about moving, but I liked it here. I changed into comfortable clothes, made tea, and sat by the window. My phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Williams about a complex case. A family had specifically requested me. I texted back. Wouldn't miss it. That's the thing about my life now. It's full. Not with people who claim to love me for my achievements, but with people who value me for who I am. My colleagues. My friends. My patients. Sarah, slowly becoming a real sister. Catherine, the mother figure I'd always needed. Charlie, who reminded me why I do what I do. This is my family now. Family I chose. As for my parents, I don't hate them. I've simply accepted that they are who they are. Maybe someday we'll rebuild something. Maybe not. But I'm okay either way. Because I finally learned the lesson they tried to teach me, just not in the way they intended. My worth doesn't depend on their approval. It never did. I'm Dr. Emily Chin. I save children's lives. I make a difference in the world. And that's enough. That's more than enough.